You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. So LSU is going to open up camp on August the 4th, and I found this interesting today. Sometimes, I don't know if you agree, I sometimes find it interesting to see what public opinion is and how it compares or contrasts to Vegas's opinion. Because, obviously, what's the old adage, they build the big shiny buildings in the desert because they're right, sort of thing. Well, ESPN.com today listed 20 programs that they felt had a shot at winning a national championship this year. And LSU was one of them, no spoiler there. But it was basically framed under the context of the ifs. How many ifs do you have? Like every program, every team has certain questions going into the year. Even Alabama. You return Bryce Young, you got Nick Saban, you got Will Anderson at defensive end. You got amazing talent. No one's going to deny that. But you also lost your top three receivers from a year ago. Someone has to step up there. You also are going to be really young at cornerback. Now, Elias Rick steps in, and I think he's going to be amazing. I don't think that's that big of a question, but everybody has their question. So the way they broke it down was like, if you have one if or two ifs, three ifs, four ifs, five ifs. And what was interesting is like, so LSU is one of the teams they list as having five big questions, five ifs. But LSU in Vegas is plus 5,000. Well, Notre Dame has those same odds to win the national championship, yet they only have three big questions for Notre Dame. So that's a discrepancy there, where the opinion, the subjective opinion of the author here, it does not align with what Vegas says. Objectively, it's Bill Connolly, by the way, at ESPN, who did the piece. So Bill Connolly lists LSU among the teams with five big ifs. Yet there's programs with much worse odds sandwiching LSU. Texas, for whatever it's worth, is plus 4,000 to win the national championship. They're also one of the five ifs teams. But here's what they listed, and this is why I bring it up, because they don't actually list the thing that I think are the biggest questions that LSU faces this year. Number one is if this much change can produce a contender. Obviously, we know LSU brought in 15 transfers. You could start 5 transfers on offense, including quarterback, potentially with Jaden Daniels. You could start up to 6 transfers on defense, including your entire secondary with Brooks and Fouché and whoever wins the 2 starting cornerback jobs and the nickel job. So, yes, a lot of new people, and it was needed, but can you win with that much turnover? The big if that I do agree with on here is if a star quarterback emerges. If Brennan becomes a star, if Jaden Daniels, you can recapture some of the magic that he had as a freshman at Arizona State, couple that with the talent he'll have at LSU surrounding him and all that experience, that could make it really spectacular. They mention, if another offensive star emerges aside from Kayshon Boutte, if the secondary is as good as it looks, mentioning Jark Bernard-Converse, who was all Big 12, Seven Banks, who was a starter at Ohio State, Mekhi Gardner, who looks like a pterodactyl and was a starter at ULL, Fouché and Brooks, who have had so much experience in the SEC, can they translate? And then if the run defense gets better. Surprisingly, as good as we all have talked about this LSU defense being, we don't talk very much about how much, the defensive line, how much they struggled a year ago. They were 70th in rushing success rate allowed last year. Now, and you had guys like Neil Farrell and Glenn Logan. You had more veteran guys on that defense, and Mason Smith and Jaquelin Roy and Jacobian Guillory and Ali Gay and B.J. Ojolari. So the same guys were hyping up this year. You had them and veteran players like Logan and Farrell, and they were 70th in rushing success rate. I think this is a really talented athletic defensive line, and they're going to generate they're going to create a lot of havoc. I think they're going to create TFLs. They're going to generate big sack numbers. How do they do against the run? That is let's jot that one down and see how it compares. I think they're going to be very good, to be clear. but it is something that's worth mentioning. To me, the biggest question of all of these, the one that I would agree with, is quarterback. In order to be a legit contender, one of those quarterbacks has to emerge and be great. That goes without saying. I also agree in the secondary. You got a lot of guys who have played. Can they gel? Sure. I don't know how that conversation doesn't start with the offensive line. You were objectively not good there a year ago, and you lose 4 of your 5 starters. The one starter returning is Cam Wire. He may not even be a starter on this team. We rolled through and went through our offensive line previews. If you missed that, you can catch it on the AFR YouTube channel when we went position by position. But LSU has 10 offensive linemen on this team. 10 that have started a game. There's 2 ways to look at that. Hey, man, you got a lot of guys who have played. True. Or you got 10 guys that have started and nobody's solidified a job. So there's 2 sides of that coin. How does that work out? Can Brad Davis find his best 5 and have them come together and work really well together in concert? If so, then you generate good rushing lanes for your talented runners. You keep your quarterback upright to get the ball to the playmakers, and I think this offense can churn. But to me, aside from quarterback, which is obvious, the biggest question on this team is the offensive line. It's the biggest question on the team. We all agree defense is going to be solid to good. You got good skill players. You got a question at quarterback, but you have options. What you don't know is your offensive line. And you got to answer that. To me, that is the single biggest if, and I can't believe it wasn't listed on this list of ifs for LSU heading into the season. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.